Are you a regular watcher here at the Hangout with Michael show and have been fascinated when we are covering the work of the Emotion Code by Dr. Bradley Nelson? Well, guess what? Today is your lucky day because we're so pleased and proud to have Dr. Bradley Nelson with us today here on the Hangout with Michael show. Hello, everybody. My name is Michael Losier. I'm the author of 3 books, Law of Attraction, Law of Connection, and soon to be Your Life's Purpose. And we meet here live every Friday here at the Hangout with Michael show, and we uplift you and we support you to give you all the tools so you can live a rich, full, delicious life. And that includes practicing and understanding about the emotion code. So welcome and join us. Today I'm going to be interviewing Dr. Bradley Nelson. I brought a panel of successful emotion code practitioners who's going to share their successes as well. And you at home, give us a shout out. Let us know what you'd like to ask or what you'd like to compliment Dr. Bradley with today. So let's open up. And Dr. Bradley, good morning and welcome to today's Hangout.
Well, thank you, Michael. It's so great to be here with you and Barbara and Dana and John and everybody else that's out there in Facebook or on Facebook, wherever you might be. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're welcome. I've got some nice questions for you today, Dr. Bradley. But first, we're going to bring in our other panel members because they're regulars for us here and people know their faces. We're going to start and head out to Vancouver area. Dana, why don't you introduce yourself and say hello before we start our interview today?
Thanks so much, Michael, and super excited about Dr. Bradley today, and I can't wait to hear some answers to Michael's questions. So I live in Vancouver. I'm an empowerment mentor who I work with women solopreneurs, and I use the emotion code very, very successfully. Once we've got into the business part of marketing and their action plan, often they get stuck. Like, okay, you know what to do, but you're not moving forward. So that's where the emotion code works perfectly for me. And I actually have 3 sessions after this with entrepreneurs that are a little bit stuck in their business. So I'm super excited about releasing those trapped emotions.
Okay, well, good stuff. Thank you for joining us, Dana. We're going to hear from you later on. John, we're welcoming you. You're in Vancouver as well. Welcome back, John.
Thanks, Michael. Yes, my name is John Inverarity, and I'm a certified emotion code and body code practitioner. And I love helping people with chronic pain and relationship blocks and money blocks, blocks to growing their business. And yeah, I'm in Vancouver, Canada.
Thank you. And it was, years, I think it was in June that you and I met. You helped me with my leg pain of 5 years, and that inspired me to become an emotion code practitioner. And you've been one of my regulars here at the Hangout with Michael show, in addition with our friend Barbara. Barbara, good morning.
Good morning, Michael and panel and Dr. Brad. So thrilled to be here today. This is so exciting. And I'm an emotion code practitioner. I use it for real estate. I'm also a realtor and a feng shui master. And I find that whether it's helping someone release their ties to a home where they can move on in their life, or whether it's a real estate mentee that I have and they're struggling with their real estate business, we remove those emotions and on they go.
Yes. Well, you know what, we quickly learned and discovered that, the emotion code isn't just for physical pain, it's for mental blocks and business blocks and money blocks, and we keep uncovering ways that we're using the emotion code. So Dr. Bradley Nelson, thank you for joining us today. I know that you're in transit and took time to be with us today, so welcome.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. This is a really neat medium that you've put together, and I'm excited about this. And it's great to be able to reach out and connect with people and further this mission that we're doing. So thanks.
Well, I know you wrote this beautiful book in 2007, which meant before 2007 you knew the information. So, and it's starting to tip over on the planet now. People like us are teaching people, and those people want to know more. So we're glad to be part of the tipping of this work that you so carefully and meticulous have designed. Here's my first question for you. When did you know that this was something that you could teach others? And what was that impact like for you when you thought, wow, this is not just for me, I can teach others how to do this? Can you talk more about that?
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting because during the years that I was in practice, 17 years in a brick and mortar practice, I taught a class pretty much every week. Sometimes we would do a dinner thing where we would have people come in, and I'd actually buy dinner for people, and they'd come in, and then I would try to teach them. And so teaching was always a part of it, but so that was a deep need that I had. But another really deep need that I had was, and I'm not really sure, I guess this just came from up above because I needed it, but it was this feeling that I wanted to empower people, that there were things that people could do for themselves. And initially, when I first started out in practice, I learned some primitive methods of working with emotions. There was one called an emotional erase method, and there were some other little methods. And I was always open, trying to figure out what would work better and what would work faster and what would be more efficient, and also how people could do this themselves. Mm-hmm. And one of the big breakthroughs really for me was because of this company, the Japanese company Nikken, because I was at I was doing a meeting about Nikken, the Japanese magnets, in my office one day, and someone asked me, they said, well, Dr. Nelson, what do you do? This is many years ago, probably in about 1996 or something, or even earlier. And they said, what do you do? And I said, well, I work on the body, and I'm a chiropractor. I realign things, but I also try to work with the energy of the body, and I try to balance the organs and the glands. And then I had my business partner at the time come up, and I had him hold out his arm, and then I did some testing on him, checking various organs to see how balanced they were. And his liver was imbalanced. And that usually causes pain in the middle of the shoulder blades, between the shoulder blades. And so I said to him, I said, you probably have pain in that area. And he said, yeah, it's been bothering me for about a year. And so I said, well, this is an imbalance. I'll have to fix this later when the meeting is over, because it would take too long to do this now. So during the course of the meeting, he got what's called a rollout. So in this company, Nikken, they'll have this procedure where they lie you down on a magnetic mattress pad, and then they use this mag creator, which is kind of a massage device. Maybe you've seen those. Mm-hmm. And then you roll and you massage the person's back with this device. And so everybody left, and the meeting was over, and he got up, and I said, oh, let's fix your liver now. And I tested him, and it was strong. And I thought, what the heck just happened? How did that work? That little massage that he got and turned on that organ. And so that was a big key for me, because I realized that I started teaching seminars, actually workshops called The True Meaning of the Rollout, because in that company, people would get a rollout and amazing things would happen. Their headaches would get better, their back pain would go away, amazing things would happen. And one of the things that they taught was that you are supposed to focus all the love that you can on that person that you're rolling, right? And so I started teaching these little workshops because I thought I'd kind of I'd stumbled across something. Well, then as time went on, I realized that we could use the same process of going down that meridian in the back to release emotional baggage. And it was kind of some of the things that happened that made this all come together. I don't even remember. But the key for me was that I was asking for help all the time. I didn't feel alone at all in this. I was asking for help. God had gotten me into this. It was an answer to prayer to go into the healing arts. And so there were times, I was in the habit of just asking a silent prayer, asking God to help me with each person that I saw. And it was a totally private, totally personal thing. But there were times when, if somebody came in where I was really puzzled about what to do, there were times when on asking for help, the information would just literally flood into my mind like an avalanche of just pure knowledge about what to do and how to look at this. And so, of course, some of that is, all of that I learned that way is actually in the body code. So it was a process of a little bit at a time, line upon line and learning upon learning. Mm-hmm. And as far as when it gradually, I guess, I don't remember that there was an actual aha moment at one point, but I knew I wanted to teach this. And so I was teaching workshops all the time. And then gradually, eventually I put together a seminar. And back then it was called Balancing the Body Electric. And this is a long time ago. And I started teaching those seminars with my brother, Bruce, who's a holistic chiropractor in Montana. And I remember we were on our way to the first event, which we did in San Diego, California in July of 1998. And we were on our way driving down. And I remember like it was yesterday, I told him, I said, Bruce, I said, we're going to teach these people everything we know in an hour. And then what are we going to do for the next 2 days? I was really worried, but it worked out okay.
You know, a lot of the people that have been viewing the Hangout with Michael show here, they're law of attraction enthusiasts. You know, they've read my book or they've read other law of attraction books. And we definitely can see the relationship between the emotion code and law of attraction. Could you talk to that for us, please, and how you see that connection?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, you know, if you think about it, if you've seen the movie The Secret or you read the book, in the movie, Reverend Michael Beckwith at one point is asked about the conscious mind or the subconscious mind, I think. And he makes a statement. And if you think about what he says is something about the subconscious mind, and he says, and there's the rub. And then the movie moves on, the show moves on. But if you think about it, you see, it's true that the law of attraction works. There's no question about it. The problem, though, is that we live in our conscious mind, which is only a tiny, tiny fraction of who we are, a tiny fraction of our intelligence. Now, the subconscious mind, on the other hand, is the domain of our emotional baggage. And our emotional baggage is also radiating its energy out into the universe, and it's drawing things to us. So if you've got trapped emotions of depression or anger or lack or frustration or whatever it might be, it's true that negative energy, that baggage that you have within you, is drawing things into your life that you really don't want. And so it's really key, I believe, to not only change how you're thinking consciously and focus on the law of attraction and what you really want, but also to get rid of all the hidden, invisible baggage that's bringing things to you that you don't even know about, right?
You know, as law of attraction facilitators, we find that too. You know, we talk about, you know, identifying what you want and removing the doubt. Well, how do you do that? I mean, these are all, you know, until you get rid of those trapped emotions that are stopping us from moving forward. For some people, the law of attraction isn't working the way they want it to. That is the things that they want. So we're going to ask John in Verarity to check and see who's saying what. And then I got a bucket list question for you. So, John, who's saying what out there, please?
Yeah, there's lots of questions here, or comments, I should say. Rami Carlin is watching from Michigan. Yeah. Jennifer Heiser from Minnesota is watching and says greetings.
Hi.
Sylvia Bellini from London.
London, England. Loyal Sylvia.
Hello.
Yeah. Eric Carlisle is watching. The emotion code works. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah. And Carol Miller. Hello, Carol.
Hey, Carol.
Really looking forward to this. Yeah. Permelia Parham. Good morning. Very excited to be here and meet you all today. Hi,
Good
Permelia.
morning.
Yeah. And there's a few more coming in, but we'll catch up with those later.
Okay, good stuff. So, Dr. Bradley, here's my question for you.
Sure.
You had a bucket list of 3 people on the planet that you could give an emotion code session to. Who would you choose?
Oh, gosh, let's see. Well, I think I'd like to work on Donald Trump. I think that'd be interesting.
I said that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great. Oprah Winfrey. I think that Oprah, I'd love to connect with her because as we know, 93% of the people on the planet have a heart wall. And I've just always felt for years that if I could connect with her, I think that because of everything that she went through in her life, she's got to have a heart wall. And I think that it would be such a wonderful thing for her to be able to feel that shift that happens, that magnificent shift when that wall is gone. Think about all that she's done in her life. I think she probably has a heart wall. I have no idea really, but I think she probably does. And Yeah, it could be that'd be a fun thing. So that's two. Oh, let me see the third person. Let me think. Who would be the third person? Well, I don't know. I think if we're doing politicians, I think it'd be really interesting to work on Vladimir Putin.
Ooh,
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah, wouldn't that be interesting to take the top two guys? Maybe the leader of China too. Could work on the three of them together.
And would you do a group call? A team call?
No, I'd work on them individually.
That's a good. I'm going to ask John the same question because John has an interesting. John, who would you want? If you could do an emotion code session on anybody on the planet, who would you choose?
Professional athletes, sports teams, NHL players, NFL players, Tiger Woods specifically. Tiger Woods. He's not golfing right now, and it's because of emotional baggage.
That's right.
Yeah.
So true. I've had that thought before, John.
Yeah.
Well, mine was Oprah, given that she interviewed me 4 times. I thought maybe I can sneak back in and say, to help her understand, because, she's helped so many people, and she's all the schools the girls' schools that she has in South Africa. I can see that, bringing this to her schools in South Africa and having the teachers, imagine using the emotion code with children in school and teaching them how to do it themselves. That would just, the whole vibration of the country would change when hundreds more people are going to learn about that. So, Oprah, if you're watching, you can choose me or Dr. Bradley. So
yeah, it works the same, Oprah, either one.
Yeah.
Michael's better looking. You might want to choose him.
Thank you. And Barbara, who would you choose out of curiosity? If you could give an emotion code session to anyone.
I would choose Donald Trump.
You would, yes.
That would be my choice. And then I was also thinking the leader of North Korea. That might be a bonus. So
that's a good one.
Yeah. And since you're taking care of Mr. Putin, then I think we've got this sort of covered.
I think so.
And Dana, who would be your lucky recipient?
Well, actually, Hillary Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think Hillary, I just felt so much pain when Donald Trump, when the morning I woke up and it was Donald Trump, because I did not expect that. And I just immediately felt such compassion for her, and it must have just knocked her right out. And I'm more interested in where is she going to go now? Like, how is she going to lead? Because she's definitely a leader for women. And I'm sure that there's a lot of trapped emotions there. And even from her whole life, from trying to be such an achiever and never really relaxing into that feminine part of her either. So I think there definitely would be some heart wells there, but she's someone that I think of.
Oh, good. We all have the same compassion. Hey, I'm going to go live, see who's saying what. We have Janine. She said she just finished reading your book, Dr. Nelson. She's very excited about it. She loves it. And we have a question
from
Matthew Cohen. And Matthew's question is about muscle testing and pressure on muscle testing. In the book, The Emotion Code, one of the strong elements of practicing the emotion code is learning how to muscle test. And there's different ways people do that. And Matthew's asking about how much pressure do I apply when using the looped finger and thumb? So kind of hard to somebody over the phone, but
that's a great question.
I'm sure you've done it before. So how can you help our friend Matthew?
Well, I'll tell you what. There are 2 mistakes that most people make when they're doing self-testing. One mistake is they use too much force. Now, I used more force than I should have. My fingers hurt for about 7 years. It's really actually true. I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's really true. I was using too much force, and if anything hurts, of course, you want to stop and try something different or back off. Here's how much force I would use. Was this the ring and ring method? It doesn't really matter, but about as much force as that I use now is, if you can imagine holding a ladybug in between your fingertips, okay? and you're not going to hurt that ladybug. You're just holding it there. That's about how much force you can actually use and get really nice, accurate tests. It's not a force thing. So it's way less force than you think. The other mistake that most people make is when they're trying to get an answer on self-testing, they're focusing on their fingers, right? And what their fingers are doing. Now, the problem with that is if you're a typist, okay, here's a keyboard. If you're a typist, if you can type, like I think I could type maybe 60 words a minute at one point. If you're typing along and you're maybe going 60 or 70 words a minute, your fingers are doing what they're doing automatically, all right? And you're on autopilot. Your subconscious mind knows how to do that. What happens if you're a typist and you start thinking about what your fingers are actually doing is that you start making all kinds of mistakes. Your speed just drops dramatically, and it does not work. It's the same exact principle for self-testing. So what you do is when you ask the question, you have your heart full of love and gratitude, and you focus on the question at hand or on the person that you're testing, whatever it might be. The last thing you want to focus on is your fingers. Because if you focus on those fingers and what they're doing, it short circuits your subconscious mind's ability to really get that answer. If you allow the testing to take place slightly disconnected from you, so that you're not really thinking about it, you're just doing it, it actually works so much better. So try that, okay, Matthew?
And can you tell us a little bit more about, because we know the very first rule here is make sure you're nice and hydrated. Can you explain the relationship between water and connectivity for me, please?
Well, sure. I mean, the human body essentially is an energy field. But if you think about, the easiest way to think about this is the battery on your car. Okay. Now, it used to be that batteries would have little caps on the top that you'd have to open periodically and fill them with water. Because if you didn't have water in there, you wouldn't be able to get the conductivity that you needed, and the battery wouldn't start your car. Batteries now are all sealed, and I'm dating myself. This is how this used to be, but right. But your body is also can be thought of as a battery, and you need to be hydrated to get good conductivity going on with the body. And really, what's happening is when you're doing testing, excuse me, when you're doing testing, you're relying on the body's ability to be a conductor. And so that is one of the reasons why people have trouble testing, that they're dehydrated. The most common reason that people have trouble being tested, where we call them being untestable temporarily, is that they have something out of alignment in their neck. And so again, in a lot of the videos, I show how you can actually, if you find that that's the reason, you can actually just use a magnet or your fingertips, go down the back a few times with an intention to realign that spine, because the reality of it is bones, even though we think they're made of calcium and so on, that's true, but ultimately everything is just made of energy. And if you can wrap your mind around that idea and really own that idea, you see the world differently, you see the body differently, and it frees your mind to be able to do things that otherwise might seem impossible. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you. We're going to ask John to see, John, who's saying what right now live? I see a lot of conversation going on. Who's asking questions? Who's saying hello?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Cindy Trost is watching live. So hi, Cindy.
Hi, Cindy.
Maria Laroni is watching, says hello. Hi, Maria.
Maria.
Pia Carlson from Sweden. That's great. Hi, Pia.
Hello.
And Tracy Jane says hello, and she's from Red Deer.
Oh, Red Deer. Hi.
Yeah. And Beverly Wetmore. Hi, Beverly.
Hi, Beverly.
Yeah. Andre Larraby from Ottawa.
Ottawa. Hi.
Yeah.
I actually know people from Red Deer, which might sound amazing, but it's true.
Yeah. Great. Debbie Talbert is watching, pretty excited to be able to watch live. Hi, Debbie.
Hi.
Yeah. Jewel Neve is excited about the show.
Hi, Jewel.
Hi, Jewel. And Sig Brown read the book. and has done some self-testing and some clearing on his own. That's great, Sig.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this. You can do it on your own.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Phil Friedman is comment here and says hello. Absolutely. Yeah. And Don Bowen
Oh,
is,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, good. So, Dr. Bradley, we have a lot of entrepreneurial business friends watching, business owners. How have you been helping business owners to use the emotion code to help expand, build, get unstuck in their business? What would you suggest for them?
Well, it really does come back to the law of attraction, like we talked about, and the baggage that you have within you that's blocking you. But there are other things as well. We came up with an Unlock Your Abundance training course that's specifically for the body code, where we use the body code and we teach you how to really totally unlock your ability to manifest abundance. A lot of the time, though, all you really need is the emotion code. And remember that probably 80% of the baggage, 80% of the imbalances that we have as human beings is actually our emotional baggage. And the emotion code is great to get rid of that baggage. So yeah, I mean, we do webinars on that monthly, where we're teaching people about that. And it's pretty exciting that we can unlock, we can get rid of the baggage that we have and then manifest a totally different life. And I'll tell you something that I've learned, and you may already all know this, but what I really firmly believe is that our natural state is to be spontaneous creators of abundance. That's really who we are. And I believe that because I had a profound spiritual experience. I've had quite a few in my life, but when I was 15 years old, I had this experience where I learned that we're not alone here, that we're here for very specific reasons, that higher power, God, however you want to refer to it, however you look at it, is actually real and loves us very, very much. And that we are the offspring of that creator, and we have those abilities within us. So when we're here in this world, what happens is, first of all, we come here and our memories are blocked from our life before. We don't know what we're doing here. We just end up here one day, and we have to try to figure it out. And the first thing that starts happening is people start lying to us and telling us all the things we can't do, right? And so we end up getting a really distorted view of what we're capable of. And I'll tell you something. In fact, let me share something with you all that I don't share very many times. But, in the webinars and things that I've taught for many, many years, I taught what I had heard from other people, that the subconscious mind is 95% of our being and our intelligence, and the conscious mind is maybe 5%. I started out years ago, I thought it was 10%, and then it went to 5%. And about a year ago, I was sitting one day thinking about this, and I realized I'd never really actually tested this. So I prayed and I asked for some guidance, and I started testing. And here's what I found. This is pretty amazing. Let me get a piece of paper. Here's what I found. Our conscious mind accesses this much of our total intelligence.
Wow.
Wow.
That's a decimal point followed by 8 zeros and a 1%.
Huh.
Now I would strongly recommend, you test this yourself and see if you don't get the same answer. Now, what does that tell us? Well, when people die and they go to the other side and they come back and tell us about it, and the ones that come back are the only ones that we hear from. Of course, the other ones, they stay gone, right? But the ones that come back, they say amazing things. And one of the things that they say is, when I got to the other side, my body was on the operating table or whatever. But when I got to the other side, I found that my mind expanded to this point that was just unbelievable. And I could ask as many questions as I wanted to simultaneously. thousands of questions simultaneously. All the answers flew in, or all the answers would just flow in instantly and be comprehended and understood perfectly. And imagine having a mind like that. You know what? I honestly believe with all my heart and soul, that's who we really are. See, that's who we really are. We come into this world, and our access, for certain reasons, our ability to access our total intelligence is dialed back so far that if it were dialed back any further, we'd be completely stupid. And I think that some people, they went a little too far, maybe, you know, that happened to them. But anyway, so imagine if we could move the decimal point one place. Imagine, it'd be just unbelievable. So I think that there are reasons for this. You know, it's all divinely orchestrated, you know, and we're here to learn to choose for ourselves good versus evil and right versus wrong, and, you know, to choose to live happily and have joy, etc. But I really truly believe that if you are having any kind of symptoms in your life, if there's anything going on in your life that is short of total abundance and total love and total vibrant health for you, it's because you have imbalances going on. If you can't find your soulmate, you got imbalances going on. The most common kind of imbalance is emotional baggage, right? If you can't seem to keep enough money in your bank account, that's a symptom. Just like a headache is a symptom, just like nausea is a symptom, right? So I have come to look at it differently now. I look at a person as a whole, and whatever is going on in their life that is short of perfection and abundance in every single facet is because of imbalances. And finding those and getting rid of those is what we all do, right, as practitioners. And that's what's really exciting about this work, because we all are full of imbalances. And so, I mean, imagine, you know, if we can, if we actually someday, we'll have to put that out there and really, you know, sincerely contemplate working on these people that are, you know, kind of in control of things.
Yes.
And then maybe even the people that are controlling them. Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yes.
Wow.
I love your distinction on the word on symptoms, right? So a symptom just doesn't mean you got a headache or you get chronic pain.
Right.
If you don't have money, that's a symptom. So I like you handling that. So thank you. That's going to help us here at the Hangout with Michael show. In wrapping up today, I'm going to ask each of our panel members what's one thing they would like to say to you. And we're going to start with Dana. Go ahead, Dana. What would you like to say today?
Thanks, Michael. Actually, I have a question.
Okay.
It's you know, on the emotion code chart, you know, which we all work from, right? How did you come up with those 60 emotions? Because I get asked that fairly frequently as well.
Sure. Well, that was a process. What happened, and of course, these charts like this, there are quite a few of these floating around. And of course, it was, if you go back hundreds and hundreds of years, you know, maybe thousands of years, really, it was, I think, the Chinese that figured out and correlated different emotions with different organs and so on. So that's all in Chinese medicine. That specific chart, when I first started putting a chart together, it was about twice as big as that chart. And so in the initial seminars that I was teaching, we were using this really big chart that was a lot more difficult to find and narrow down the emotions. And so it was one of those things that I prayed about it actually one day and asked for help. And then I just started testing to see where the emotions should go. And that's about all I can remember. I mean, it was, you know, the beauty of it is that the 60 emotions that are in the chart cover the whole range of emotions. If you believe that you're going to have to use a bigger chart, well, you know, welcome to, you can have one of my old charts from many years ago that I used to use. Good luck.
No, I'm good.
But yeah, that's kind of how it came about. And some of the things, it's been a really interesting process, you know, and I've said before that I really believe that everything that's happened to me in my life, all these spiritual experiences that I've had, all of everything, it was all orchestrated. I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be doing this. I'm grateful to know that this is my mission, really, I'm so grateful, and it gives me so much joy. When I was at one of our events recently, up in front, teaching 300 or 400 people, and I just had this feeling of joy and I told everybody, I said, I could do this every day for the rest of my life and just be incandescently happy and never need to do anything else except take a break once in a while. But I'm just grateful. Yeah.
We get that too.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, good. Thank you, Dana. That was a great question. I loved hearing the answer. Barbara, how would you like to wrap up? What's your question or comment?
Mine is more of a comment. And what I'm noticing is that on this show, there are two people who have been those key turning points in my life. One is Michael Losier many years ago, and I'm so grateful to you, Michael. And then Dr. Nelson. My life has changed enormously. And of course, Michael introduced me to your work. So I'm just eternally grateful to be here and to be a part of this work. So thank you.
Thank you, Barbara.
And John,
thank you, Michael.
Yeah, my thoughts and feelings are the same, Dr. Brad. My life has been absolutely changed, like it 180 from a few years ago until now. I'm full-time, living a joyful life, yeah. And I do have one question, and Philip Friedman also brought it up. And so what would you say to someone who had long-term chronic pain and would do like 3 sessions or less and didn't see any results? Like, do you see that? And what would you say to someone? Yeah.
Yeah, that can happen. I mean, first of all, I used to work with chronic pain patients in my practice for many, many years. And people suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome, and of course, fibromyalgia is a chronic pain syndrome. And here's the bottom line, okay? When you're doing this work and you're removing these imbalances, you don't always get results right away. It works out, basically, there's one of 3 kinds of patterns that will happen with people. One pattern is they just get better immediately and that's it and you're done. Awesome. Well, unfortunately, that's the least common of the 3. It's always exciting to see that. Sometimes what happens is a person might have a problem for 50 years. You'll do 1 session on them and they'll have dramatic results, and they might be great for a day or so, and then they go back to where they were. Now, if that happens, you don't ever need to feel bad about it. You need to let them know your subconscious mind just gave us a glimpse into where we can go with this. But it's showing us there's still more work to do. So that's how the body kind of gives you hope. Now, the third way is that people just gradually improve. And so you never want to lose hope. If we have time, I can share a story with you about this.
Oh, please do.
Okay, there was a patient that came to me once. What had happened was she was at a friend's house, a brand new house that had been built. They were having an open house, and she was wandering around the upper level of the house alone, and there were these balcony doors, and she opened up the balcony doors and walked out onto the balcony, but the balcony had not been built yet. And so she fell, and she landed on her rear end on these boulders, and it collapsed her 3rd lumbar vertebrae, just collapsed it. So a couple of years went by, and she was in chronic pain. And so she came in to see me, and we took x-rays and everything. And I told her, I said, look, just because your back looks like this does not mean you have to be in pain. We can find imbalances and fix them, and we can get you out of pain most likely. So I started working with her, and I worked with her for about a month, or maybe 5 or 6 weeks, I don't remember, sometime around there. And we were releasing a lot of stuff. She had been sexually abused, and she knew about it. My policy is, and your policy also should be, even if you suspect it, you don't ever tell anybody that they were, because you don't know, right? Yeah. If they tell you, they were fine. That's what she told me. She was sexually abused. We started finding all these emotions that had all gone right into that 3rd lumbar vertebrae, right? Lots of stuff. We were releasing all this stuff, all these emotions. But as weeks were going by, she was not feeling any changes at all. right? And so one day she comes in to see me. She says, listen, I'm really sorry, but this is just not helping me. And I'm going to try something else. And I pulled her into my x-ray room and I shut the door and I said, you cannot do this to yourself. I said, you cannot do this to me. You can't do this to yourself. I said, we are so close to figuring this out. I know you haven't had any changes yet, but all the stuff that we're releasing, we're getting closer and closer and closer. And it was, I think, the next session I did with her after that we found the source of the pain. What happened was she had a cat, and she had picked up that parasite toxoplasmosis from the cat. That parasite had gone right into that vertebrae, and we had to clear all these other layers first. It's like archaeology, you know, to find the buried treasure, you got to dig for a while sometimes. And we figured that out, and she was in pain. She was completely out of pain within 24 hours after that.
Wow.
So you cannot give up. You can't give up. And sometimes your clients will give up because they just don't see it coming. But I'm telling you, you've got to have faith in this process, because every time you clear something, you're getting them a little bit closer. So sometimes it just takes patience.
Yes. Well, thank you.
Great, thanks.
And then, Dr. Bradley, I'd like you to spend a moment and talk about the PTSD. I know you're very passionate about that. But Dana, let's go to you. Dana, what's something that you'd like to give us a message, please?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Michael. We like to just remind people about shows that are coming up. So we're going to be on next week, Facebook Live, same time, episode 188. And one of the most popular shows is the viewers Q&A. So we're going to be talking about law of attraction, NLP, emotion code, and if there's questions about life purpose. And since you're on Michael's Facebook Live right now, we love for you to leave questions or comments, and Michael will answer those during the show, just like we're doing right now. So if you have any, law of attraction questions, emotion code, any questions about Michael's new book or NLP, think about them, and please share them, because chances are if you have the question, somebody else wants the answer too.
Yeah, that's right. Good stuff. Thank you. Back to you, Dr. Bradley, about PTSD. What would you like to say about that and your work there?
Well, I'll tell you what, PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder, is something that we normally think of veterans suffering from, and they certainly do, especially if they've been in combat. But you can also suffer from PTSD if you were bullied, for example, or, there are a variety of emotional events that we can experience that can create PTSD for us. There are a lot of people walking around on the planet that are suffering from PTSD, and maybe they were never in physical combat with anybody, but yet they can have a lot of those same kinds of symptoms. What we have found is that the emotion code is absolutely the fix. It's the fix for PTSD. Every case that we've ever seen where someone was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, it's caused, as far as I can tell, from everything that we've found, it's caused by trapped emotions. And if you release those trapped emotions, all of that whole symptom picture can just melt away. And I've seen it happen so many times, and it's such a sad thing that we've been trying to connect with the whole community, but it's sad that there is so much suffering when the answer is here now. The answer is available on the planet, and of course, governments like the American government, with these veterans coming back that have so much trouble, they just throw medications at them, and and 20 different medications. And I heard recently that there are 22 veterans a day that are committing suicide. I don't know if that number is actually correct or not, but even one suicide is too many.
Yeah.
So the emotion code is just such a simple answer, and it's easy. People can do it, and so if that's an issue for you, you definitely need to take a look at it.
Yes, I agree. Well, thank you very much. Well, this was such a delight to have you here with us today. And we're all honoring you and your work, and we'll continue to teach or talk about the emotion code here almost every Friday at the Hangout with Michael show. Thank you for joining us, Dr. Bradley Nelson, John Inverarity, regular, Barbara, Dana, thank you very much. We're going to go out and say hello to everybody after the show today. If you have any other questions, let me know. What an awesome day for us all. It's a great manifestation.
Yes.
Let's say goodbye, everybody. That was great.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Great to connect.
Bye.
Yes, thank
Bye.
you.